Hello, my friends. Today, we're going to talk a little bit about my experience rescuing a cat and the things that I learned in this process. So, if you follow me on TikTok, you've probably already seen that last week I rescued a cat and later reunited it with its owners. So, this started when I was walking down the street. It was a super hot day, there was a lot of very direct sun, and I caught a glimpse of a cat darting between cars. I took a closer look and I saw what appeared to be a very skinny cat, possibly with matted hair, looking quite afraid. And you can tell outdoor cats because they kind of have that swagger, like they own the street. This was not a cat like that. This was definitely an indoor cat. When I managed to get a closer look, I also saw that this cat did not have a collar. It was very skittish, so I went down the road to a store to get some cat food, cat snacks, cat treats, and I came back with them and I managed to get the cat out from under the car, and then I carried the cat back to my apartment. We have two rabbits in my apartment, so initially I made sure to keep the cat was a she. I made sure to keep her separated in a bathroom just in case, she could have had some communicable diseases. She could have had fleas. Who knows? I thought it was best to be safe and keep her separate. And whenever I went from one room to the other, when I went from touching the cat to touching the rabbits, I always made sure to wash my hands and most of my arms thoroughly. So I put out a call on Instagram for people in the neighborhood to to help me out. I put out a request specifically for a cat carrier so that I could take this cat down to the vet to get her checked out and to see, maybe she had a chip and her owners could be traced. Thankfully, the owners of Coping Cookies in Capitol Hill came through. They brought me a cat carrier from the vet's office next door to their business, and they were able to take a look at the cat as well, right? Because they're also cat owners. So they did some pretty clever stuff that I didn't think about. So they actually helped me determine that the cat was female. They took a look at the claws of the cat, and it was obvious that they had been trimmed quite recently. They also smelled the cat. That's actually pretty smart. So they smelled the cat, and you could tell that the cat smelled like a house. Like it didn't smell like a cat that had been outdoors for a long time. So that gave us a hint that, maybe this cat has been outside maybe a day, probably less than a day. And, the cat was also very, very docile, very familiar with humans, very happy. So, that also gave us an idea that, this cat probably has an owner. We had some thoughts about the breed of the cat. And during this time, somebody had also mentioned on TikTok that this looks like a Devon Rex, which is typically quite an expensive breed because the fur that they have, which may look matted to the untrained eye, is actually very short and very curly. And this type of coat, it how, how do I want to say this? Having a short and curly coat means that the shedding is less frequent, and that is often better for people who suffer from allergies. So it's kind of considered a hypoallergenic breed. So, what I thought was, an unhealthy looking skinny cat with a really matted coat, it was just the breed. The breed tends to be quite skinny. The coat tends to be quite short and curly. So, all in all, the cat looked like it was in good health. They took me down to the vet's office, the one next to their business. And there I was able to get the cat scanned. It turned out that the cat did indeed have a chip implanted. but unfortunately, they were not able to do any kind of checkup there because they didn't take walk-ins. I took a note of the number and then I went on further down the hill towards Broadway to Urban Animal. Urban Animal do take walk-ins and they were incredibly, incredibly helpful. When we got there, they took the cat back, I guess, to an area where they could examine her, make sure that she was not suffering from anything obvious, make sure she didn't have fleas. And they also scanned her again. They got this number, and there's like a meta database of all of the different chip providers, and so they queried this meta database. I guess it's not all of them, but it has the most coverage. And this chip wasn't showing any owners. So one of the things that I learned in this process was that when you implant a chip into a pet, it's actually a separate process to register that chip to say, hey, I am the owner of the animal, the pet that has this chip implanted. So if you are somebody who has a pet and you have a chip in your pet, but you haven't registered them yet, I highly, highly recommend that you go and register the chip so that if that animal is found, then it will be very easy to connect the dots and get them back to you. So as I said, that metadatabase, that wasn't a hit. And the next step was to ring up all of the producers, and there are multiple producers of these chips that had a line of chips starting with a certain prefix. The receptionists at Urban Animal must have spent about 30-40 minutes doing that for every producer of chips that they could think of that could be a potential match, but unfortunately, it was not possible to trace an owner. It was also not possible for the cat to stay there overnight or with any one of the people who worked there overnight because there was no capacity. So, the cat had not been out that long based on everybody's assessment. So I decided to take the cat home with me to foster for a night or two until we could find the owners, because I didn't want to have to take her to a shelter, and because it was also quite a rare and expensive breed, the chances were that the owners were looking for her. So fast forward to actually before we fast forward, let's stay on that day. That evening, the receptionists from Urban Animal, they put out a whole bunch of posts on the various Facebook groups for lost and found pets. They took pictures while the cat was in the back and they made all these posts. I'm very, very grateful for that. So we forward to the next morning, the owners had seen one of those posts, thankfully. I think they thought that the cat was at Urban Animal, so they had gone down there in person. They found out that, oh, okay, the cat came back with me for the night, so I received a call at about 8:30 a.m. from one of the very worried owners who was very relieved to hear that the cat was safe and sound with me. So, they came over in about 30 minutes. They walked up the hill and they were reunited with the cat in this very room. In fact, it was a very happy moment. The cat jumped up on one of the owner's shoulders, just like she did to me when I brought her home. So that was really nice. I made some new friends. The owners are very nice. They live in the same neighborhood as me. And it's kind of funny. There is a park nearby to where we live that the cat is also familiar with. So the owners had thought that if the cat had gotten out, the cat would have gone into the park. And they had been looking all night worried in various areas of the park. And it's a lot harder to look there, there's foliage, there's bushes, there's more ground to cover. And, a scared cat could be hiding anywhere. It turns out that the cat had actually gone in the other direction, which is where I found her darting between the cars. The cat also, by the way, had a sister that looked exactly like her, who they had also brought along. So, she was very, very happy to be reunited with her sister as well. At least from what I could tell, it was a very nice moment. So that is the recap of my little adventure last week. If you didn't know anything about rescuing cats or what to do when you rescue cats, hopefully now you know a little bit more. And if you are the owner of a pet, if you are going to get a pet in the future and you do decide to get a chip implanted, please make sure that you do that second step of registering your details and associating them with that chip. Well, that is it. This is the end of the video. If you like this video, if you learned something, please go ahead and leave a like on this video, leave a comment on this video. And if you'd like to hear more from me when I have adventures that pop up in my life, make sure to hit subscribe as well. That is it. I hope that whatever you all do today, you have a great day. If you have the opportunity to rescue a cat, go ahead and rescue that cat. I'll see you all next time. Goodbye.